mean, just boom, that month, you know, that 7 houses that close together could coincidentally have, you know, high water bills just after not, I had the same water bill literally for 8 years.
Yeah. Like,
And then I just,
you know,
so I
I'm
don't
assuming
understand.
from what I know, they've gone out and reread your meter, and you know the readings match. The reading that's on the meter matches the reading that's on the remote piece, and the readings in the book matched the previous read time. So,
I mean, you're assuming, do you have that information? If I give you my name, do you have that information that my meter was
If you
read?
could call us with your meter reading, call us directly.
I'm sorry, say what?
Call
Say-
us directly with your
Okay,
meter reading.
all right.
So
Okay.
And we will
we can-
check with the book.
we can do that. You know, what I want to be careful is with, you know, don't start discussing individual accounts
Yeah.
here. We'll be.
No, I
we'll
understand,
see.
okay.
So,
The gentleman in the,
My question was what she had alluded to earlier. I was one that had a high water bill.
Each person, and I know you've been here before.
Oh, I'm
but
sorry.
For the minutes, and that,
Yeah.
anyone that speaks, could you please state your name first? And I don't, sir, you didn't say your name, and I don't.
Oh, do you need my name?
Well, you should for the
Ian
minutes.
Patterson.
I just want to make sure that they have it, that's all.
Dominic DeGidio, I live right down here in Tusca. I think I was one of the first ones that had a water issue, and I had a leak. I mean, we did find a leak, and subsequently, the leak turned out not to be the problem. It was everything that happened after that, to the point of receiving a shut-off notice for whatever pair of reasons. But like she had alluded to earlier, I'm still getting penalties and late fees charged. And it was my understanding that there would be no late fees or penalties charged.
while
I
we're
don't,
doing,
you know, I mean, I know something about your scenario that
Yeah.
I don't think we want to discuss individual accounts out in the open unless you know, and you want to do that. But you have a written payment arrangement from
Right.
a while back. I mean, I know because I was asked to prepare that. And that's the standard payment arrangements, which this was prior to any of this.
Well, my letters, you know, I would pay the 34 and then pay the 150 is what we had listed in the letter. But in those previous meetings, it was everybody who had these high water bills that was, well, we'll waive penalties and late fees. So now you're not gonna waive penalties and late fees?
What I was saying is specifically as to your, I have not done one payment arrangement for any of these out of this last cycle of readings where.
No, I
this is
understand
covered.
that, and I don't-
So that's
but-
what I'm saying, is I'm not speaking
No,
to
no, this
this.
is what I was told.
It's a different,
Just in my case, that those penalties and late fees would be waived.
that's not been the case. That's not been the case when someone's asked for although I mean, unless that was the terms of your payment arrangement, was that specifically?
Well, that wasn't in the letter because I didn't put, because I was told by the office people that those fees would be waived.
I will tell you the history, well, you know what? Dominic?
Yes.
Yeah, I have your agreement here. You got penalty and interest on that?
I still continue to get penalty and interest.
Actually, I'll address this with the authority board here, but that is in your payment arrangement, that it is interest and penalty are waived on that one. So, but that's not, you know, in the history, that's not the commonplace thing where someone calls it, or requests in writing a payment arrangement. Typically, we have had interest and penalty continue.
I understand that, but I'm sorry,
But you are
specific to my
correct,
case,
sir.
mine's waived.
Right.
Right.
Your issue is prior to this issue that everyone's been talking about for the last month. But you do have a payment arrangement, which I see here, and it does have interest and penalty are to be waived on that amount.
And I
So-
still get, like, my last one was over $100 and some.
All right, well, that'll be corrected then. I'll address that with the board.
Sure.
We
Ma'am,
found our
name,
leak.
Please.
Oh, Mary Lou Garvey, Salem Church Road. We found our leak and there was terrible corrosion. Have you checked the water for corroding materials? And also, don't you think it's unusual that a whole neighborhood would have a problem at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it's unusual to have that many complaints at the
And I
same
feel
time.
sorry for the people who have not found a leak and are still having this problem.
Sir?
James Boyce, Wildwood, and I'm here for my son on Salem Church Road. All his neighbors, the Garveys here, they live right across the street. Sean Roman, he had an extremely high water bill. My son had a water bill for $1,342, and plus the late fee. He owes $1,683 right now, according to your late fees. And I have a disagreement with the meters. Dawson said that his meter was checked and it was okay. Well, it can't be okay because they said he used 122,000 gallons of water in 3 months. Now, we had Steve over there as soon as he got the bill. We had Steve, your employee, over there to check the meter, and he changed the meter. But he said in 6 days, Jim used 6,000 or 2,000 gallons of water in 6 days. Now, we don't disagree that the meter might have said that. What we disagree with is the meter must be wrong. I mean, it can't be right. 122,000 gallons in 3 months, plus you use 2,000 gallons in 6 days. And Mr. Dawson sat here last week and said they checked the meter and it's okay. Well, it can't be okay. There's definitely something wrong. There's no way that meter could read that number. And all, it seems like a cluster, just like Mrs. Garvey said here, it seems like a cluster of houses. And that lady there on Wildwood, she said it was a cluster around her house. Now, a long time ago, I live on Wildwood. A long time ago, when I was hooking up my water, there was an older gentleman that was with the Water Authority, and he has since passed away. I can't remember his name. But he said, check your pressure out in the street. And I had over 100 pounds out in the street. So he said you should put a regulator on that. So I went down to Danny's down there at Child's Plumbing, and he fixed me up with a regulator, a brand new one, and I put that on, and thank God I've never had no trouble. But he told me then, this gentleman that worked for the Water Authority, he said sometimes the firemen get up there and they're filling tankers and that, and they get slamming them valves open and shut. And he said that can affect your water. That's why I definitely put a regulator on it. So I think that meter's jumped a couple calls or something. Because the meter, we agree, the meter read what was on the bill. But it can't be right. There is no way that meter could read correctly. And there's no way you have different pockets of high bills. Like here around Jim's house and the Garveys and Sean Roman, they all live right next door to each other. And that used to be the girding place. I don't know who else lives there now.
Yeah, they have it too.
But they have a water problem, a high bill. And it just seems like it's in certain areas. Just like this lady that lives on Wildwood, she said there's 7 houses right in that neighborhood, right there, they could see each other. They all had troubles. Now, I don't know whether it could be the fire department or not, but that's what that old guy years ago that worked for the Water Authority, that's what he told me. But something is definitely going on. We're not saying the meter was read wrong or anything. We're saying that the meter might be correct, but it's wrong. Because there's no way you could use 122,000 gallons of water in 3 months.
And I don't know specifics about your account, but, you know, you're mentioning the fire department and, you know, turning the hydrants on or off or whatever, that generally is if you turn a hydrant off too fast, you increase the pressure, and usually what happens then is you break a main line. And,
Well, that's just
they
what
call
this,
they call that like water hammer.
yeah,
that
like
type
a water
thing.
hammer.
That, you know, to my knowledge, that generally wouldn't have
Well,
anything to do with any
well,
difference
that-
in reads. But
That might make a meter jump a tooth or something, and start reading falsely. Because we're not saying the meter was read wrong or anything, we're saying that the meter can't be right. It's jumped a tooth or something. Because that old guy that worked for the water authority passed away now, that's exactly what he told me.
I hear what you're
But-
saying, I just,
You know, he's never had a bill over $100, never. And this $1,683, plus he already paid 2 months prior to that. He pays it every month. And there's no way that that bill should be that high. And Clarence Dawson says, oh, we checked the meter, it's okay. Well, the meter can't be okay. There's definitely something going on when you get this many people. Like last month, I was here and there's so many people that was asking questions through the window. Now, you know there's got to be something wrong. Anybody with any common sense would know something is going wrong, something's going on.
That meter hasn't been changed, you haven't requested a change on it, and then,
They changed it
They changed it.
right after he got the high bill. Steve come over and changed the meter.
okay,
But he said since that reading 6 days prior, Jimmy had used 2,000 gallons of water in 6 days.
okay, did they test the meter that he took out of
Clarence
there?
Dawson said they checked the meter and the meter's okay. But the meter can't be okay. There's something definitely going on there.
sounds like it was one of the meters we might have sent out. Do you know?
Well, I think they said they would send it out.
95% higher.
But here's another thing. Them meters belong to you, the water authority, not him. And you should be responsible for checking your meters. You shouldn't be charging $50 to get your meter checked. The meter belongs to you.
That's part of our rules. If there's a complaint against the meter, right? You have a complaint against the meter, you think the meter is inaccurate, you can pay to have the meter checked. If the meter is tested to be inaccurate, we send those away to an independent place to be tested. If it comes back inaccurate, then we refund your $50, I believe the test fee is $50. We refund that $50 and then, you know, adjust the bill according to how much percentage
You're
it's
the
on.
only water authority that I know of that they have to pay to have the meter tested, the customer.
Wait, I have a question.
Now, another thing too, is, how in the world could everybody be wrong? That's my biggest question. How can everybody get an outrageous bill for 122,000 gallons of water like he did? And how could that even be? Especially when Steve said in 6 days the meter showed he used 2,000 gallons. So that's my biggest question.
I mean,
122,000 gallons, a hell of a lot of water. Steve said that you could fill up that swimming pool over at Seven Oaks 3 times, is what he said.
I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know.
That's accurate. So wait, do most of you guys have septic tanks? Do most of you guys have septic
Yeah.
tanks here?
Yeah.
So, I mean, your average septic tank, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna hold 122,000 gallons of water. Like, you will have water somewhere. So if somebody's using 122,000 gallons, where is it? That's what I don't
Yeah,
understand.
you're
Where is
right. I
it?
didn't even think about that.
Like,
You're like
'cause
so
I,
right.
they said I use 66,000 gallons. My tank can hold 41,500 gallons roughly. My neighbor would know. My hill, it goes downhill. He would know. So I'm not exactly sure where this water went. I mean, I would, if I had 66,000 gallons in my house, I would definitely know it.
Another thing also, Jim had to pay $17,000 to have a sewage system put in his property. It's a peat system, and it has a dowsing tank, if you're familiar with that. And he has to pump that water out of that dowsing tank out the gravel bed, you know. And his electric bill never went up. If you're pumping 122,000 gallons of water, definitely your electric bill would go up. And there's no signs of any water leaking out the top or the ground's all dry and everything. But something is definitely going on because there is no way he used 122,000 gallons of water. And there's no way everybody here talking about these outrageous bills they've had, and something's happening, something's going on.
So they installed a new meter at his place.
Yes, they did.
So,
We'll have to see what happens.
yeah,
But
I don't-
how could you get a bill for $1,300?
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Right out of the blue.
I just know if, you know, water goes through the meter and it's measured, that's water.
Well, that's
through
what
the
I'm
meter.
saying, the meter's gotta be reading wrong. The numbers are wrong on it, because I'm not disputing what was turned into the girls here,
Yeah.
because that's probably correct, but the meter's not reading correctly. He's never had a bill near that high, $100, you know, he never had one $100.
Okay. I mean,
And he pays it every month, so it's not delinquent accounts or anything.
yeah, I don't know specifically on your account, so.
Sir?
My name is Mike Daniels. I live at 480 Smiths Ferry Road. My comment is more for the people that are here and people that have high water bills. I retired from the company I worked for in February of 2016. When I did that, my meter's at the end of the road. I live a quarter of a mile back. Every single day, from that day on, I checked my meter to make sure it wasn't leaking. So I knew I didn't have a leak. Several, 9 months later, I go out to get my bill, I looked at it, it said $33, okay. Then I know it was $331. I knew I didn't have a leak. Do you remember me coming to your house and giving you? What I did, I panicked to run home, because I came to the bill, the billing, and I thought this will be simple. I told the lady, I check my water meter, nobody does this, I check my water meter literally every day. When I put my grandkids on the bus, Saturdays I get my mail, Sunday I go to church, I check my meter every day. It was not leaking, so I knew I didn't have a leak. Here's my encouragement to all of you. If you have your slips, if you haven't already done this, lay them out as far back. I have mine forever. I'm one of these pack rat people. But as far back as you got those slips, lay them out and watch what happens to those readings. Because what happened to my reading twice, while I didn't go on vacation or anything like that, it said minus 6,000 gallons on my bill. And I know how that works. If you don't use the water, it will reset. But I was never on vacation or something like that. So I went to Clarence. I do not have a high water bill in this round of problems, but twice that happened to me. And twice I went to Clarence. I said, Clarence, here's my bills. If you just lay them all out and just see what's happening with each of your bills, look for ones that say minus anything. Because what that'll do, that'll throw that bill off. Twice it happened to me. My daughter, twice she had a problem. One was $300 and some like that again. She didn't save her bills, but without going into every detail of my daughter's problems, let's say it this way. I'm 4 for 4. 4 times. Twice for myself, twice for my daughter. I sort of have no complaints because Clarence, I sat down with Clarence, I said, Clarence, here's what the problem is. And we looked it over. He said, absolutely. So my encouragement to all of you, if you got those slips, get them out. You need to look back over how your billing has been done. I'm 4 for 4. We didn't pay none of those hot water bills. And so mistakes can happen, and you will get the final reading will be right. The final number, they look at your meter. I even agreed with the final number, but if it's going minus anything, or in my daughter's instance, there was an erroneous reading. It was a completely erroneous number that was put in. Of course, once it gets put in the book, it gets in the computer, and then it threw that next bill off where she got a giant water bill like that too. But we are 4 for 4. If you have your slips, and even if you don't have your slips, they will give you a readout, right? You can ask for a readout, and you can look at those numbers. My number's in the book. If you say, well, what do these numbers mean? I will try to explain it to you, but I'm 4 for 4. That's my
Thank
comment.
you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mike Palmer, 149 Edgewood Circle. This gentleman here hit on something that made me think, if there's such thing as, I don't know about plumbing, but if there can be such, like a thing as back pressure that makes the needle, make the spinner on the high end jump. I mean, so the meter is correct technically. What it says and what everything says is right. But if there's like a back pressure, I know fire hydrant right across from my house, they opened it, and then the next bill, it was, so I'm thinking maybe some sort of back pressure, not slamming or anything, but is that possible? Some sort of back pressure hitting the meter and just jumping a needle on the high end from, 1 gallon to 100 gallons.
Yeah, I'm not aware of.
So
of
all
that.
the
I mean, we
testing's
can-
gonna say that meter is correct,
Yep.
and it's working fine.
I'm not aware that that can happen, but, we can look at that possibility, but I'm not aware that that's ever happened, or I'm not aware of that situation can happen.
I guess it would happen
I-
before.
Yeah,
Well, I know in Wildwood Road, not Wildwood, but Salem Church Road, Chambers is the last service house on there, I believe. And, they were down in the field flushing that water meter, or that fire hydrant, just a month before, and that maybe messed up the readings, I don't know. But I had seen them, your water authority people down there flushing meters,
yeah.
and there for
Flushing-
probably about
flushing the-
15.
Flushing the lines out to
Yeah.
make sure the setup.
Probably for
doesn't-
about 15 minutes, I didn't have any water at my house, but it come back when they closed the
Yeah,
valve.
when that happens, the water pressure reduces because there's a big.
But I'm wondering if that could affect the meters or something.
I'm
Because-
not aware of that. We can inquire and, see if that's a possibility somewhere.
Well,
I'm not aware of it.
There's definitely something the matter when all these people show up with outrageous water bills.
We can look into if there's some sort of possibility there. I can't speak to that.
Mike Palmer, 149 Edgewood Circle. We still paying the $34 a month? Regardless.
Until this is resolved.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll address the complaints in the letter and give you specific things that either you need to do or that we're expecting of you out of that letter. I think that's reasonable as notification to you. You have something in your hand that our expectations written on paper, and then you can, inquire from there. I think we'll spell out in there, if you do want your meter tested, we'll spell that whole process out for you. And, how to request payment arrangement and that type of thing too. So I think that we need to do in a letter, so you guys have that and there's no communication.
So don't make a
mishaps.
payment until we get the letter.
Make,
$34.
you need to make your,
Minimum payment.
yes, make your minimum payment, please.
Now, I have one more question. I don't know whether anybody has filed a complaint with the PUC, but I'm about ready to. And I think there was a group of us talked about hiring a lawyer, because there's something definitely wrong. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's something definitely wrong. And another question, could you tell me the name and address of the company that checks these meters?
Yeah.
I'd like to get that off the office, please.
Oh, Brighton checks them? I didn't know who we sent them out to.
So
Is
what's
that
their
local?
Borough
qualification?
Township.
What's their qualifications on that though? I mean, like, are they Valve Tech certified? I mean,
You're speaking Greek.
does anyone know that?
We can, I don't know the specifics, but we can find out.
That would
That's a
be-
good question, we'll find out.
Actually, you go ahead first. You've been holding.
I just
your
have
hand.
one question. Now, this isn't in regards to leaks or whatever, but the quality of the water. Our water softener the other day, I had to go down there, I opened it up, and I had never seen this before in a water softener, but I had a salt ridge. And it tells you what this involves, and a lot of it had to do with the water in itself. It says, well, very simply, just take a broom handle, shove it down into it, and when you get to the bottom, you'll hit water. Okay, well, I could get the broom handle down. I had to take my big drill and I put a plant auger thing on it, and I had to drill through this thing till I got to the bottom, and there's no water. So it's like, well, if you look by, the troubleshooting thing, there should be some water in the bottom of this softener. Well, there's nothing. The water is terrible. So we had to do a regeneration, which you can do the quick one, which is about 2 hours, or you can do like an overnight thing. So we did the 2 hour. You couldn't use your water. Okay. Everything came back. So I talked to a guy who does some plumbing. He said, that's water you have then is terrible. He said, if you're getting a salt ridge, you should not, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of a salt ridge.
Yeah.
I mean, I never did till I read the book. The manual for the water softener, and then it's like you got to be, and it's only supposed to be a very thin thing. This had to be a foot. I had to drill through this, like I said, with an auger to get to the bottom, and then we had to do this regeneration thing. And right now, knock on wood, it seems to be working. But, we've been so focused on the excesses of water that are being used. Had anybody ever addressed the quality of the water? And I got to tell you, like I said, this is a secret. I have a farm down here, and there have been times where I go down there and my water tanks are clear as could be, yet them animals don't want to drink it. Today I was down there. I said, this is ridiculous. Nobody's touched water. This is their only water. So I cleaned them, refilled them. They were drinking like crazy. I don't know if there's an issue with the quality, if anybody's ever addressed that or not.
I mean, as far as quality goes, that we send that out to be tested at least once a month. Is it twice or once? Twice a month. So those samples are taken at individual taps, individual houses across the borough, and we send that to a lab to be tested for quality water, and that's all logged, and DEP can come in and
if
they look
it
at that.
fails, right, you send out a notice.
Yeah,
right?
if it fails, but
I belong to an organization,
Yeah.
Shipping Port, and every month, or whenever, routinely, I get these notices that the water has failed whatever test. It's routinely in Shipping Port. So we don't use the water at all. We've gone to bottled water, but I think I have gotten a few from here.
in years
Yeah.
years past,
Yeah.
we used to
Okay.
have a problem that we reported on,
Okay.
and that's been corrected.
So what exactly are the steps from them taking my meter and checking it? What are the, okay, so I make the phone call,
Mhm.
then what? What's the next step?
You mean if you would want a meter?
Yeah, no,
your
no, I'm
meter
just saying,
tested?
like, hypothetically, like, I want my meter pulled out. Who tests it first? Does Steve, is that his name, Steve?
No,
Does he test it first?
No, Steve will read the meter, take the meter out, and then put a new meter in,
Okay, and then send it to Brighton Township.
and then they'll send out.
So if nothing's wrong with it,
I didn't
then-
realize our testing place was Brighton Township, but yeah, they'll
If
send.
nothing's wrong with it, then why do you have to pay the $50? Is it not just gonna get recycled back in? I mean,
It's-
in theory, if nothing's wrong with it, then
Yeah,
it's
it's-
perfectly good.
Yeah, it's the process, the time, and I'm assuming we have to pay them for the meter test. So they're not testing that for free. So
Could we like possibly do that in-house? I mean, it's not that hard. I do it for a living. It's
Yeah.
not that hard.
yeah, I don't know what it takes to do that. I know you
Yeah.
probably have to send your standard. You have to have some sort of standard that's calibrated and
Yeah, no, I'm
checked
just saying
somehow,
like,
right?
because like the $50, I mean, that's kind of a kicker on top of like, hey, your meter's fine.
Yeah.
Well, you don't pay with the meter's fine.
Yeah, well, if the meter's bad, you don't pay. If the meter's,
Right.
if the meter's good, you do.
That's right, I'm sorry, that's right. But it's in the rule that way because, I mean, the obvious answer is that, if every customer wanted to, I'm gonna change, I want my meter tested, And, you know, for no reason, there's no high bill, there's nothing, you know, I mean, it costs money to do that.
Oh, yeah,
So-
no, I get that.
I mean, every authority that I'm involved with, they have this similar policy, whereas if you, there's a means to dispute the reading, and then they have it so to where, yes, if it's out of line, you know, the meter's changed out, and, you know, the authority eats the cost for the testing, but if the meter is reading correctly, then, you know, the person would pay for the testing and then, yeah, the water usage.
It's like following 149 Edward Street. Was the meter actually physically taken apart to look for any corrosion inside to make it? Or is it just, they just kind of hook it up and run water through it until that it's fine?
I
mean,
can't,
It could be something
yeah, I
inside
can't,
too, or?
I don't know what their test process is, I don't know what that is specifically. I wish I did, or I'd tell you, I don't know, I don't wanna speculate.
Any other questions for now?
I got a comment.
Comment.
I work for Crucible Steel down in Midland, and Cold Industries and LTV and that. And we used to pump the city water out to Midland. And if you'd have seen where that water come from, then through that bill, you'd never want to drink it again. You know, and I remember in the past here, we used to get notices, I guess from the water authority, that the water didn't pass a certain restrictions and so on. And I talked to my doctor about that. And he said, if I were you, I would start getting bottled water. It's just what he said. But now you switch to Vanport, and they have a lot of trouble with the water from Westinghouse, you know, leaking chemicals and so on. And I'm just wondering what we're actually drinking, because it tastes so terrible you can't even brush your teeth with it in the morning. And to make coffee, we get bottled water to cook with and so on.
Yeah, so.
But the
I mean,
water is terrible.
To just answer that comment, or make a comment to your comment. You know, that in the past, that was chemical makeup, trihalomethane was the chemical, and that was a reporting, when that showed up in the water, we had to report that out, obviously, right?
Yeah.
It failed the quality test.
It was something about the leaves deteriorating or something.
I think
Put something in the water.
my general high-level knowledge of that,
Yeah.
organic compounds in
Yeah.
water that are treated with chlorine creates
Yeah,
trihalomethane.
yeah.
That's about all I know about that. But, so that was that case. When we did switch our supply to Vanport, they don't have a problem with that.
Well, they have
with
wells.
that. They have wells, and it is well documented, you know, through the county that Vanport and Westinghouse, that whole thing, but their water is tested, you know,
Well, I read
very,
about the
very frequently and under a lot of scrutiny from many different
The
organizations.
DEP that has test wells down there to
They
see
do.
how far that
Yes.
chemical has advanced in underground waters.
Yeah, that authority, that water supply, they're scrutinizing that, they're monitoring that, and, you know, those wells that supply the actual drinking water to us in Brighton Township and Vanport, they're not seeing any of that, they're not having any problems in those wells, you know, today.
Our
So
water tastes just like chlorine, man, I'm telling you. I mean, I know
know,
you guys put chlorine in it, but
From a authority perspective, you know, we have to treat the water
yeah.
with chlorine that's stored, so no bacteria or anything shows up in there.
And
If that chlorine level would drop below that, then stuff's gonna start growing in the water, and
It's
we don't
so
want that.
nasty tasting, you can't even drink it though, you can't even brush your teeth with it or anything. I noticed you guys have bottled water here.
Yeah, I guess they do. I drink tap water, but that's all.
All right, well, we'd like to move along. Is there any old business? No? All right. Report of officers.
Okay, I have the treasurer's report and bill list. Georgie found a correction in the July list there was one of our Verizon bills was doubled up in the dollar amount, so she made that a correction in there. Should have been, I think, $55, and it ended up, it was in here as 110 or whatever. So the new balances for July 2019 are as follows. Total bills paid to date, $43,998.71. The total receipts to date, $62,484.18. Revenue fund is $30,000. The sweep account is $536,782.68. So that made the total funds on hand $673,265.57. So that was July's bill list. Correction to that.
A motion to accept the bills. Second.
I'll second that.
All right.
And then we have to do August. Have to
Oh,
do
that's
August.
right, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So the August bill list, we have the bill list there. So the account balances, total bills paid to date, $42,676.70. The receipts to date, $59,872.98. The sweep, or the revenue fund, sorry, $30,000. The sweep account, $552,955.48. Total funds on hand, $685,505.16.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the?
I'll make a motion to accept that.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Manager's report. The manager is not here. So I have nothing to offer there. Maintenance report?
Maybe under the manager's report, I did talk to Clarence, and the girls can talk to this a little better, but we had a problem with our due date, this month, last month? This month. So the due date in the system came due on, I think, Saturday the 24th. Some bills that were dropped off in the mailbox got entered on Monday, and those customers ended up with a past due balance of those bills, those got entered late. They identified the process that's supposed to happen. Georgie knows this now. If that due date hits a weekend or a holiday, that they're to move the due date, and that was just a mistake on that part. Georgie knows to do that now. She didn't know to do that before. So those bills were identified, the corrections were made, and those customers, they'll see that on their next bill, that correction? Is that how we're doing that?
Most of them have already called.
Oh, most of them have called, and we've mentioned something, okay, so.
She pulled a report from over the weekend, and she corrected everything on her
Yeah.
own, knowing that she had to do it.
Okay.
And it was partially my fault, because
move on
I
to
forgot
your,
that as well.
Understand,
report.
yeah. And, so the other thing I mentioned, to the ladies is, we're gonna call the billing software company. I know, from my experience, some billing systems have a due date and then I forget what they call it, but basically a delay on past due charges for that instance, where you might delay it 3 or 4 days, so if you hit a weekend, it doesn't create this problem, or if you hit a holiday, like Thanksgiving or something, it doesn't cause a problem. So we're gonna look into that and see if we can have a grace period. Great, see if there's a grace period we can put on there of 3 days or something, so, then we don't have to remember to change that date. So, okay.
All right, moving right along, solicitors report. Paul?
Yeah, I have no report this evening.
Okay. Jeff?
I have
Engineers
nothing to
report?
I have nothing to report.
All right. Any new business?
So, new business, I said I'd bring it up, about the, hiring, an auditor, an independent auditor to review the process of you know, how we reviewed the bills, reviewed our billing process and read process. What everybody's been reviewing, making sure that, you know, we've reviewed everything correctly, and, you know, hopefully the auditor comes to the same conclusion, or if the auditor finds something we need to address, then, you know, we'll take that.
Have we ever done that
Take
before?
that action. We have the audit on, you know, our billing and finances. Since I've been here, I don't know that anybody's audited the meter read type process.
So we have no idea how time consuming something like that would be?
Not really. I would think it would take a couple days, because they're gonna have to step through bills and kind of do the same thing. I don't know that they do it on every single one, but
It would
they'll,
probably be a random.
they'll
vote.
probably sample and pull randoms. That's generally, in my knowledge of what auditors do, that's generally what they do. But I would suggest that we at least inquire and see if we can get a contract to have somebody do that. So I would, my
I think
opinion,
that's a good idea.
my opinion is we start with our normal auditor, Herman Law, and see if that's something they would entertain doing. If they won't entertain doing that, then, you know, we can call
Look
around,
elsewhere.
we can call around and see if somebody else will do that. I'm pretty sure they'll probably do it, but, yeah.
All right.
So, I'll make the motion on the table to call them and, you know, get something drawn up for them.
Get
to
an
come in and do
independent
that.
auditor?
Yeah.
You have a second on it?
Right here.
All right,
Second that.
All right.
you got it.
We're in favor.
All right,
So we'll do that. Can
All in
you,
favor?
take care of that tomorrow?
aye.
Aye,
One of you two. I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
It's
Either one.
We're your one,
Okay.
so.
Thank you.
All right,
What about this letter that you suggested we send out, draft a letter for the residents?
No, that's a good point. So I think, Paul, is that something you can draft up for us?
Yeah, I
We'll just
was,
need to- We'll need to come up with all the points that we want to
Yeah.
address in the letter, that's all.
I talked to Clarence on Friday, and I've talked to Connie and Georgia about the different scenarios and that, so I'll put together a draft of a letter that the ladies in the office can use in various circumstances. It can be adapted to whatever we need, or if we want to make one general letter, and that, I'll put something together and send it over, and tell me if it meets your needs or if you want something else. I'll try to address that.
okay. All right,
And then
there's only,
I think there's one more, maybe it should have been done in old business, but at our general business audit report, we need to approve tonight.
oh,
We needed to review that. I forget what dates those were for. We actually forgot to do it last month.
Last month.
Yeah, so I know I reviewed it. I
read it. I looked
didn't
at it.
see any issues in there, so I just don't remember the dates off the top of my head.
That's it.
Is that
That it?
the latest?
That's it.
Can always
It's
count
the-
on Paul.
The audit report, this is for December 31st, 2018.
December 31st?
Well, it's for fiscal year ending 2018.
So I can make the motion to accept the audit report for December 2018.
Okay,
by Herman Law.
second,
I'll second it.
comments?
All in favor?
Aye. All right, since there are only 4 of you left, we have a public comment period here. Did you want to make any other?
I actually would like to make one more comment. Actually, the people that probably needed to hear it left, partly. My name is Mike Daniels. I live on Smiths Ferry Road, 480 Smiths Ferry Road. One thing I would encourage all water municipal authority customers to do, document your readings at least a couple times a week. That way if there's ever a problem, and whenever you pay your bill, tell the person I'm documenting my readings, so then you can go back, and then you never have another problem that way. I do mine every couple of days, at least once a week. Sometimes I'll do it 3 days in a row. And mine's down in a pit. I have to get a magnifying glass and a flashlight to do it. But it's that, if I just can't afford to have a big water bill. So I would recommend that too. Pass that on to all the people that are customers.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's good practice.
Yeah, that was, you would have.
Then you know if something, especially in your case, you've got a pit meter with a long.
Yeah,
long
a quarter of a mile
extension.
line, yeah. Now, something that I just mentioned in the last meeting, I am convinced that if you went through probably not all of these accounts, but these people that have these high water bills, if you gave the customer the benefit of the doubt on each one of the readings, that bill would go away, because I don't believe you can trust any of those readings. That's been my experience. Like I said, out of 4 times, 2 for my daughter, 2 for myself. The readings, it's billed correctly by what's put in there, but the readings are wrong. And for instance, if I'm living in my house and my wife and I are using water, and for over the 3-month period it says minus 6,000 gallons, I can't live there and not use water. If we weren't using any water, that would be correct. I understand how that system works. But I really, all I said briefly last meeting was, you need to go through there and give the customer the benefit of the doubt. Just assume all the readings are wrong. Go back to whenever there was no anomalies, and it should continue. It should be a pattern. In my daughter's situation, for 11 years, she paid $33.50, $33.50, $100. $33.50, $33.50, $100 for 11 years. The one it came up, it went $33.50, $33.50, $33.50. She said she called the water authority and said something must be wrong, and she was all told that no, nothing's wrong, whatever. But anyway, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. If you went through those readings and just assume they're all wrong, except the final reading's correct, and back whenever there's, before there was an issue, I could actually give you a date if you would give me the date of the hire of a particular employee. You also probably all the further you need to go back. But anyway, you take a pattern, establish a pattern of use, and take that final reading. I believe a tremendous number of what's going on right here would just go away. Because just in my case, they went minus 6,000 gallons. So 3 months later, 4 months, whatever, 9 months later, another 6,000 gallons. That's how I got a $300 water bill. And the readings are right. That final reading is right. So if, I realize you are looking at these, you're saying, yeah, it all adds up just fine. But if you if you just assume that all those numbers are wrong, except the final one, and give the customer the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I hate to play devil's advocate, but you heard one person tonight admit last month they said there was no way. Then tonight they told you they found a leak, their toilet. And their number added up to what, you guys had. I hate to play devil's advocate, but
sure.
I mean, you had someone tonight come to tell you they had a leak. I mean, I sure didn't think I had a leak.
I understand
and
that.
then, I found my leak, but and again, playing devil's advocate, you had someone who said, we did find a leak. And, I don't know like your situation, but I leaked 87,000 gallons. I walked into the house, they said, Dare, you just got to quit watering them damn plants. This is ridiculous. And I said, we have a pool. I said, did we, get a bigger pool? And then, and I'll Clarence and Steve, I'll give them guys credit. I called them, it was a Saturday morning. I got a hold of Clarence and I said, Clarence, and he said, well, call the office Monday. I said, well, Clarence, if I have a leak, just tell me how to shut the water off. That's all I care about. I don't want it to leak the weekend, or from this point on, I'll read it, and then I'm not going to be responsible for this water. Well, then Steve come out, and then Clarence was out, and then actually the one Chafee came out who put in our water line, and we found a leak, and that was great, and I acknowledged the leak and all of that, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But then conversely, you have somebody tonight who is telling you, because everybody last month, and I don't mean to be a pain about this, but I just want these guys are trying to be fair about this. they didn't have a leak. They said they didn't have a leak, yet tonight they told you they had a leak, and they told you where that leak was.
But
So-
whenever there is a leak, there will be excess usage,
Well.
you know? And whenever, in the case where they move that back or anything, or if there's just an erroneous number entered in, then you average, if you averaged out the usage, then there's not a leak. On a leak, you won't average out the usage. You'll realize you've used more than you would average use. I understand what you're saying, but leaks is a different scenario.
Well, what I was saying, James Boyce and Salem Church Road, what I was saying, when Steve changed that meter, he said that he used 2,000 gallons of water in 6 days. Now, that's almost impossible. You'd have to run that constantly.
Yeah, I mean, that
you
does seem like a
know,
lot of water, but I don't know the situation.
but Steve put in the new meter and it stayed right, it wasn't leaking. It showed it wasn't leaking. And Steve checked the whole house out, one outside valve, it was shut off.
Yeah.
And there was no leaks, nowhere. Steve checked it himself.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying, somehow or another, that meter read wrong. I'm not blaming the girls for entering the wrong numbers or anything. I'm not blaming you people. I would just like to get the situation resolved. Because
So would we.
there's no way that he used 122,000 gallons of water
And they were
for $1,342.
Just to clarify your point, did Steve come back out and check the new meter too?
Not yet,
Before,
no.
with a leak or anything?
Well, he checked it when he put it
When
on.
you put it
and turned the
on,
water
it's
on.
got
Put it
that
on.
little red dial thing.
Okay.
He said, if you use any water, that thing's gonna spin.
Yeah,
And
that's true, yeah.
And I even went out and turned the spigot on to see if that thing would spin, and it was spinning when the water was on. And we shut it off, and it stopped, so it ain't spinning. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you're looking for that obviously now.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, he was reading the meter every day. I don't know whether he still do that or not.
yeah, Becky was, my sister
I
was.
think the
reading.
gentleman here had good advice, I read mine
Yeah.
weekly.
Yeah,
But then I also went from a 3-month reading to a monthly reading.
yeah.
Because I sure don't wanna have,
Do you document it?
yes, yeah, I have a log.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a log, but I just read it every Saturday, I read it. And mine's like yours, it's in a pit.
Uh-huh.
So you'll see me laying out there on Tuscarawas Road, looking into this hole, because I had a guy asked, stop. He said, what's wrong? I said, I'm reading my water
resting, I'm
meter.
taking
He
it
said,
out.
you're kidding. I said, no, I'm reading my water meter.
My neighbors think I'm
Yeah.
obsessive compulsive.
No, that was certainly good advice, and I do that every Saturday, and I do document. But I did go to the monthly reading.
But like I said before, you got pods of people, like that one lady said on Wildwood, down at the end of Wildwood, 7 families there all got high water bills. And right around Jim's house, the Garveys and Sean Roman, and the people that bought Tony's old house, and they all had high water bills for some reason, but they're like in pods, for some reason. But I did see the water authority guys down there draining, opening that meter up to flush
Yeah.
the line.
Well, I mean, I wrote that down, I mean.
I don't know whether that caused the problem, Clarence says no.
I'm not aware that can cause a problem, but, we can research that.
That
and
old
see if
guy
there's
told me
problems
that
out
when
there
they get
like
slamming
that.
them valves up at the firehouse,
Yeah,
that could cause a problem.
it definitely can cause a break in the line if that's not done.
But if we use that much water, he'd want to pay it, but there's something definitely wrong, because there's no way he used 122,000 gallons of water. And Sean Roman, his next door neighbor, he's been paying $300 water bills every month. And I don't know why he pays them without, they changed his meter here about a year ago.
They changed it again, I think.
They changed it again, okay.
I think.
But he's had all kind of water problems over there. He bought the Doty's, what was his name, Glenn, or was it Glenn? Was it Glenn Doty? He bought that Glenn Doty's house. But he's had high water bills all along. And it's just outrageous when you get a water bill for $1,342.
Yeah.
It's like a shock.
I mean,
All right, well, we'll keep working at it,
Okay, I hope you
And,
find a solution to it,
yes.
because he sure didn't use that much water. I know he didn't.
I know, I don't have no swimming pool, I don't have no garden, not, it's just me and my sister that live in the house.
Even, I live on Wildwood, but even when my granddaughter had a swimming pool in her backyard, our water bill never went up that much. I mean, maybe $25 or something. It wasn't, it was probably about a 10,000 gallon pool or something, but we never really complained about the water increase, you know. But when you get 122,000 gallons of water and use in 3 months, there's something going on.
Yeah, I just wish I knew what it was.
And especially when you have an enclosed sewage system, because all that water's gonna be pumped out of that dowsing tank out to the gravel bed, you know.
Yeah.
And the electric bill didn't increase.
I mean, there any outbuildings with water in it, or?
No,
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
grasp at straws. I
But
don't know.
Steve checked the whole house and.
I'm
they
sure,
couldn't
I'm
find
sure he
any-
did, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But something's definitely going on. When you get groups of pods of people, they all get high water bills in that one little area, there's something happening. I don't have no answer what it is, but. That's what
All
I
right,
was
well,
told.
thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
And, we'll keep at it till we find an answer.
Need a motion
All
to
right,
adjourn?
we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right,
What channel are you with?